So, question number 4 is, what country has you... Yeah. Hey guys, so I just want to let you know a few new ways that you can get a hold of me outside of YouTube. The first is through Facebook, where I update on upcoming trips. The second is through Instagram, and that's where I post exclusive photos from the trip. And the third is a way for you guys to donate to the channel if you want, and it's through a Patreon page. Alright guys, sorry to waste your time, hope you liked the video. Hey guys, so today I'm doing a sit-down video, and I don't do these really often, so I'm not sure how good I'm going to be at them, but I was tagged by Tan from her channel Travels with Tan, and it's for us that have traveled and want to share our experiences with you guys, some of the good, some of the bad, and stuff like that. So make sure you check out her channel, it's really good. Also, Daniel and Naz are also in that video, so watch it, check out their channel, they do a lot of really good stuff as well. And so I'm going to begin right now. Okay, so question number 1 is, how many countries have you been to? So I actually haven't been to very many, so I can name them all right now. So the first one is Canada, which is my home country, United States, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Cuba, France, Italy, and Spain. So most of those places I've only been to bits and pieces. I would love to go back and explore some more, but those are the countries I've been to. So question number 2 is, what is your scariest travel experience? So I'm going to have 2 short little stories for you. One is being kind of like have your heart drop scared, not from like being unsafe or being in a weird situation. It's just, anyway, I'll share that. And the second is something that is kind of like a sketchy situation. So the first one, I was in Rome going back to Barcelona to fly home, and I made the mistake of assuming that the airport that I flew out of was the same airport that I flew into, which was not the case. So I took us to the wrong airport. I was checking my, checking my stub, and it's like the other airport, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not even in the right place. And that's when my heart just sunk. Like, I couldn't believe it, because the other airport was way across town, and we had like an hour before it took off, and we needed to get this because there was a connecting flight the next morning from Barcelona back home. So we went outside, and a flight had just got in, of course, and it's one of those situations where you have to line up, and then taxis pull into a certain like taxi stall. And anyway, so the person in line gets in their cab and they go, and then they wait for the next cab, and then it's so on and so forth. And there's probably, I don't know, 25 or 30 people, and we just wouldn't have made it if that was the case. So, anyway, so we ended up walking to the road and hailing a cab there, and he says, no, he's like, I gotta go in there. I'm like, we'll pay you lots of money to, get us to the airport on time. And we did. We got charged an absurd amount, but what are you gonna do? So anyway, we get to the airport, and lo and behold, our flight is canceled. So it didn't even matter anyway. So our flight's canceled, so that's not good. So we are like, okay, well, what are you guys gonna offer us? And they said, okay, well, our next flight's not until 2 days from now. And I'm like, no, that's not going to work. I can't miss my connecting flight back home, or else that's going to be like another $900 to get back home a person. So I wasn't about to do that. So what we did is we found online a different airline that still had availability, even though there wasn't, because we went to the desk, because I was having a hard time with the Wi-Fi. That was super weak, and I wasn't able to get onto the site very much. And we went to counter, she's like, nope, it's all booked up. I'm like, well, I can see it right here. She's like, well, if you can book it, then technically you're on the flight, and then whoever gets there first for the seat will actually get it. So you have to be physically there. So we had someone in Canada book the flight for us, and then we stayed in the airport overnight, was the first person in line, and got our connecting flight home. So that was the most scary as far as like, what am I going to do? The other one was on this trip, and it's not as scary, it's more of a sketchy experience. And I can tell you right now that Mexico has been one of the coolest places I've ever been, and a lot of the stereotypes that exist here are not true. I did run into one of the stereotypes here, and that is police corruption. So most of the time the cops are fine. Just like anywhere else, you know, most of the cops are good. But we did run into a couple. So we were driving back from one city into Mexico City, and there was cops that have designated checkpoints. So we got pulled into this checkpoint, and the cop asked for our license and registrations and all that normal stuff that you would see. So we dug it out of the glove box, and it was fine. Anyway, he pointed at the registration and he says, "Look, this says 2016. And we're like, "Oh, well, that's not good. Like, this is a rental car. Like, you know, we have no control over whether or not they register their vehicles." So he threatened to, confiscate the vehicle. We'd have to take out our bags and walk the rest of the way, because there was 4 of us in the car and only 1 spoke Spanish. So most of us were in the dark most of the time. So we tried calling the rental company. There was no answer, of course. We couldn't get a hold of anybody. So they ended up taking Chris, who's our driver and the one that spoke Spanish. They ended up taking him into the back. And basically they asked him for a bribe to get off. And we didn't want to do that, because when Chris came back, he's like, "Well, I'm going to call my girlfriend who's from here in Mexico and try and figure this out a little bit more." And as soon as they kind of realized that we're going to be talking to another Mexican, they gave us all of our stuff back and they said, "Go, go, go." Anyway, by the end of it, we ended up going back to the car rental place and asking about it. And the guy said, no. He's like, 2016 is when we registered it. It does not expire. But we wouldn't have known that, because there is no expiry date on the thing, so we would have just assumed that was the expiry date. So that was super sketchy. So it is one of those things that you may run into while you're here. So question number 3, what travel accessory do you always bring with you? And this is going to sound like a really dumb one, but it's my camera. Even before I started making YouTube videos, I was always taking pictures, making videos. I love that stuff. Even as a little kid, we had a camcorder from probably when I was like 10 years old and up, and you couldn't get it out of my hands. Like, I'm not in any home videos because I'm always the one behind the camera. So whenever I go someplace, whether it's short or far away, the camera's always with me. So question number 4 is, what country have you been to that has the best food? And I kind of feel stupid saying this, but I actually kind of like our food back home. It's either Canada or the US, mostly because of the variety. There's just so much stuff that you can get from other cultures, where I find that certain places like Mexico and Puerto Rico and Cuba, their food is very good. Like, here are the best tacos I've ever had, but it's pretty much just tacos, or the tacos are all very similar and there's not a lot of variety I've found. We've been to a couple places that are unique in the food that they serve, but once again I find that it's all relatively the same, at least for my taste buds. So saying Canada and the US is not because it's like fantastic food, but there are definitely more options, and I kind of like that. So number 5 is, what is your most memorable travel experience? And this was, I would say probably 3 years ago. I was on vacation with my parents to Florida, and we ended up going to an NHL hockey game between the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is my favorite team, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And for me, this was an experience that I have been waiting for my whole life. I was always a hockey fan. Not many people in my family enjoy sports, so it was something that I appreciated on my own. And even just being in line, waiting to get into the arena, I just remember how happy I was. It was such a cool experience to be able to be part of that, and then the energy of the crowd was awesome, and it's just one of those things I'll never forget. And I mean, I've been to some much cooler places, seen some much cooler things, but for an emotional experience, just being like, oh my, this is so awesome, it was definitely that hockey game. Question number 6 is, what is the best item you purchased abroad? So I've started doing 2 different things. Actually, this reminds me, I haven't done this yet, and I don't think I'll come across them, but bumper stickers. So I have a car top carry on top of my car, And any place I go where I find bumper stickers, I take them and I stick them on there so I can see where I've been, other people can see where I've been. Haven't come across any now that I've kind of realized it. The second thing I've started to do is buy t-shirts at the places, whether they're normal size t-shirts that actually fit me, or in this particular case I bought a nice small t-shirt. And what I'm doing is I'm framing them. I'm turning them into art for my wall. And, you know, I usually don't buy little trinkets or anything from the places that I go. So this is a kind of a weird question for me. But I do like those, and I do like the way that I incorporate them in a way where I see them all the time and I can appreciate them all the time. So question number 7 is, what is your favorite place in your country? I'm kind of sad to say that I haven't been to many places in my country. It's just been one of those things. So for those who don't know, Canada is very expensive to travel in. So that's one reason why a lot of Canadians don't travel, or they don't travel a lot within their own country. So that being said, I think that my current hometown of Halifax is a wonderful place. It's a nice small city, it's very friendly, it's very fun, there's lots of things to do, especially if you like pub, Irish culture, Scottish culture, stuff like that. We're very influenced by that. There's sports, we're right on the ocean, so there's lots of boating, there's lots of kayaking, there's fishing and all those type of things. And we also have a famous lighthouse called Peggy's Cove, which is extremely beautiful. So I'm going to put a plug in for my whole province of Nova Scotia and say that Halifax, the capital city, and the surrounding areas are the best part of our country. So number 8, what do you love and hate about New York City? So New York City is a place I have been, but I have not spent a lot of time in. The thing that I love the most is all the attractions. So New York City is just full of things to do. You can do things that are very simple, things that are very budget friendly, or you can spend all your money and you could do it all within a day. So I really like the variety. The buildings are beautiful, the people seem to be very nice. The thing that I don't like about it, 2 things. It's next to New Jersey, so that's not great. And it does take forever to get from one end of Manhattan to the other. I do like that it has a subway, but still, it takes forever to get anywhere. So question number 9 is, what advice do you give to people who want to travel but can't? I'm the type of person who believes that if you want to travel, there is a way to do it. And a lot of it comes down to what's important to you. So I'm sure if I bought new furniture and I had new clothes all the time and I spent my money going out and eating all the time, I wouldn't be able to travel either. Because I make some money, but I don't make a lot of money. So I think it's about priorities. So if traveling is something you want to do, then you have to decide what you're willing to cut out in your everyday in order to put that money aside. So traveling is affordable. So for example, I know a lot of people within Canada go to all-inclusive resorts. So you can get 7 days or 10 days for about $1,200. Sometimes you can get it less, so like up down to $800, but most people like to spend a little bit extra, get a nicer room and stuff like that. To give you a comparison, I've been in Mexico for about 3 weeks, and I haven't spent $1,200. That's including my flight, by the way. So there are ways to travel cheaply, there are ways to still be able to see whatever you want, but you have to understand what it's like, what are some of the sacrifices you have to make while you're traveling. So you're not going to be staying in a five-star resort the whole time, but you're going to get to meet some really cool people, you're going to stay in some wonderful places and get some really great experiences. And then it's about just doing that budgeting back home. Question number 10. What is your most awkward travel experience? Believe it or not, I haven't really had too many awkward travel experiences. We kind of got ourselves into kind of an awkward, kind of sketchy situation on this trip, and we were staying in a small town, and we plugged where we wanted to go into the GPS, and it took us down all these back roads, which I hate when GPS does do that. I would just rather them keep me on the main street. I don't care if I save 35 seconds by cutting through some subdivision. Anyway, so this took us down these really tiny side streets, and starting in a little bit out of the way, a little bit sketchier, and then we go underneath this overpass, and there's no other houses that goes into this yard, and like 6 dogs come out, and we're like, okay, we should probably turn around and go back. Because they do say traveling in Mexico at night is not great unless you're on the buses. Like, I'm talking about like the ADO, like the big like charter buses that go on the highways. Those tend to be pretty good. But if you're just like in your car or by public transit, they do recommend that you don't travel by night. So of course this was at night, and we decided to turn around right there and go back because we didn't want to risk anything, and it was getting sketchier and sketchier as we went. So that's probably the most awkward, even though it wasn't anything, like we all just kind of like, ooh, okay, let's just get out of here. Okay, so question 11, it's what is your favorite place that you've traveled? This is a very loaded question. I tend to like staying in one spot for a while. I really enjoyed Puerto Rico, and here's why, is it has a really good old downtown core. So Old San Juan is fantastic. The buildings are very Spanish inspired, so they're very beautiful. It's very old, it's very well kept, and you can tell that. Puerto Rico also has a rainforest, which is my first experience in a rainforest, and it was lovely. There's big mountains that you can hike to, there's beautiful waterfalls. The people are fantastic. They speak Spanish, but a lot of them also speak English, which is very helpful for somebody like me. Puerto Rico has very authentic food that you can find, but if you are someone who doesn't like to experiment food-wise, because it is an American territory, it does have your staple American foods and grocery stores and stuff like that. So you can really kind of find whatever you want. Once you leave the city, it's so beautiful. I've driven from across one side to the other. It's an island, so it's in the Caribbean, so the water's beautiful. Ew, why? So the water is beautiful, it is warm, it's great to swim, there are great beaches there, there's lots of mountains, there's caves, there's anything that you want to do outdoors, Puerto Rico has it. So that's probably been one of my favorite places that I've been so far, based on what I've seen and the amount of time that I've stayed there. Question 12 is, where do you want to travel to the most? And you know what, I've mentioned this before, and the fact that I haven't seen more of Canada kind of bothers me, because as much as I want to see other cultures, I also want to experience more of my own. So I do want to spend some more time this year traveling in Canada. It's too bad that our summer season is so short, because I'm a sun lover. So doing the winter stuff doesn't really appeal to me, especially for traveling. I'd rather wait until the summer, spend my money, enjoy doing the hiking and the outdoor stuff that you can do in the summer. So where I want to go is Canada. I want to experience more of it. I want to show it to you guys and see, so you guys can see what I have at home. So the last question, question 13, do you speak any foreign languages? Let me tell you right now, it would be very helpful. So I speak English, obviously. I speak French. I'm about 50% fluent in French, and I'm about 5% fluent in Spanish now. I've learned some key words. I've learned yo no hablo español, which is I do not speak Spanish, cerveza, which is beer, baños, which is bathrooms. So the 3 most important sentences you can learn, I have learned them. I've been picking up words here and there, obviously, and once I've been on my own, I've been able to navigate from one place to the other. Most people are very helpful, just with my very broken Spanish, I've been able to get around, ask my questions. Also, here's a pro tip, download Google Translate and download the actual language onto your phone. So Google Translate will work wonderful if you have Wi-Fi. It would actually even if you talk to it, it will say what you said in whatever language it is out loud to them. It also works offline, which is great, because most of the time I don't have Wi-Fi unless I'm staying somewhere like where I am now. So Google Translate, you just type it in and it will convert it automatically for you. So that's really handy to have. So yes, I speak some languages, not very well. It's definitely one of those things that when I go home, I'm gonna just sit down and just work on that, because learning a second language or a third language is really fun, and it would be super beneficial to know more about it. Alright, so that finishes up all the questions. If you guys liked the video, let me know by hitting the thumbs up button. Leave comments below if you kind of like these sit-down videos. Like I said, I don't really do them often. And double check the link below. I'm going to nominate probably 5 people of the channels that I follow the most. And if you are interested in doing a video like this to share your experiences, go ahead and do it. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. But check below. I'm going to nominate 5 of you, and that basically forces you to do it. Hope to see you in the next one. Subscribe. I'm going to be posting all the Mexico videos here now. It was a fantastic trip. I hope you guys like it as much as I did.